All right, this is an ARC-5 T-19, and I did another series of videos on fixing the gears and the bent shaft on this transmitter. Now, what I want to warn you is this has a different pinout for the back connector than other transmitters of the same type. They look the same, but the pinout's different. Now, I double and triple check everything, even when I have the schematic. Now, I was checking for ground, and you put one lead on the chassis ground here, and you start touching the connector, and pin 1 is not showing ground. All right, it's showing I had ground on pin 4, and I don't know if you could see that. But in other words, when they draw the ARC-5 back connector, they draw it funky. They don't draw it the way it really looks. And it's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the middle. 1 is not used. 2 is the oscillator plate. 3 is the relays. In some places it says not used. That's where the relays are. Okay, pin 4 is the ground for the radio. Okay, they call it 24 volts, but it's actually 24 volts ground. 5 is the 24 volts for the filament. 6 is the power amplifier, the 2 output tubes screen, and 7 is the power output high voltage of the plates. Okay, so even when you find the right page with the right pinout, they still show you the diagram of a BC, say 696. It's very confusing, and I sat there and go, this is really messed up. Okay, this project is at the point where I'm sorry I ever touched it. Okay, I also found a rant. A guy did like a 5-page article about these transmitters, how everybody went in it and messed them up, how everybody keeps saying that the transmitter has a lot of chirp, and he explains why, and it's really messed up. He basically goes on a rant because the front of this radio is supposed to have a rolling inductor right up in here, and it doesn't because someone said to take it out. So one of these that's unmolested, never been touched in a box, can go as high as $1,400. All because of these bad articles. Now he says hopefully the bad articles get lost in the archive somewhere, and I feel the same way, and I went into this so I'd have a matching transmitter for my ARC collection, my BC 453, 454, 455. Okay, so I wanted to look at, work on a transmitter. I have experience with transmitter type circuits, and I thought it would be fun. But, the fact that the shaft was bent, that's another series of videos I did. This shaft right here was bent. Everything was binding. You couldn't tune it. Now I'm at the point where I can't get the local oscillator to oscillate because I don't have enough voltage. See, the receiver can work on 100 volts DC, okay? And then you got to light the filaments. But the transmitter seems to want more voltage for the circuit to go into oscillation. So now I have to build, I have another transformer. I have a power supply that's almost finished, or was finished. And then here it is here. I bought one of the actual transformers that they recommend, but this transformer is recommended if you rewire all your filaments so it'll work on 12 volts. But this is a 5U4, and then it needs what the hell would be other capacitors here. I got to put some capacitors on a terminal strip. But I'll get this working. I stay with stuff, but at this point, I'm at the point of the project where I'm really sorry I ever touched this or ever got one. And these things are so overpriced. Okay, you're gonna have to clean it. You're gonna have to get it working. All the brass parts in these, and the guy in the article tells you what creamy stuff to use. Don't use bright dip. He basically says what I said, but then he tells you to use some type of brass cleaner or silver cleaner, because most of these things are silver plated copper. So he has you using some type of silver cleaning paste. And then he warns you only to use distilled water on cleaning. And I use Windex. Okay. He claims use anything else, they'll start turning green. These things are a nightmare. Okay. I got some type of weird thing going with the relays. Buzz and noise, the AC getting in, my AC filament getting in. So I ended up using a piece of cardboard to hold the relay. The relay has to be on in order for the oscillator to come on. Okay. Or if you want a transmit, or if you want the magic eye tube to be on. So I applied B plus for to the oscillator plate, but that don't go to the oscillator plate unless the relay is closed. So I put a piece of cardboard in there to hold the relay closed, and the magic eye tube lights up, but the oscillator won't oscillate. And I'm right now I'm saying I need more voltage. Okay, it needs probably at least 200 for that oscillator circuit to start oscillating, besides the power output tubes. But I'm at the point now where I'm sorry I ever bought this. You know, it's buyer's remorse time, and I put more work into this than it's worth. You know, and then the power supply. I had someone ask me about the power supply for the receivers. Would it work on the transmitter? Well, read the literature. This thing needs 200 milliamps at 250 volts. The circuit I built to get the receiver to work wasn't that. Nobody reads. Nobody does. I'm doing the work. Like I said, I got to the point where found out that the connector on the back is totally different than the other transmitters that look identical to this. All right, and you'll find mention of that. But even in the book for this thing, they give you the diagram for the other transmitter. If you look at the pinout on the connector, it's wrong. Pin 1 of this transmitter is not used. Pin 1 is the ground of the other ones. Okay, and if you go do a lot of reading, if someone will mention, you got to use a different wiring. You got to change the wire. So one company decided to put one out, and it's the ARC, American Radio Corporation. Now, anyway, they decided to wire their transmitter just slightly different than the other people putting them out. It's a built-in nightmare, and I double and triple check everything. So I'm ringing out the ground. I'm like the ground was on pin 4. And the other thing too is the direction they count the numbers in. Okay, the tube I think is the opposite way. Yeah. Well, anyway, all right, that's fine. Okay, but yeah, when you do finally find the diagram, it's not drawn like the back of the connector, so that'll throw you off. But I stay with stuff. I keep studying it. Bang, I found it, and then I found reference. Yeah, if you notice in the schematic, the schematic's for a different transmitter. See, they don't put a schematic in for an ARC-5 T-19. They give you a BC696, which is basically the same unit. Basically, got different parts, wired differently, but basically it's the same transmitter. Okay, but if you don't know this, you're going to go in circles. But it was so funny to find a 5-page article where the guy basically ranting like me. You know, people drill holes into it, and that's what they did. And they destroyed these things, trying to get them to work, making complaints about how its performance because they didn't do it right. And this guy's in there like, I'm glad all those articles are in the archive and gone. Now he can speak his piece. He puts out a small article. I don't think there was his article didn't have any drawings at all. But he rants and says they took this out, they did this, this is what causes the chirp. And, you know, I was just trying to get this thing working just to get the VFO. And it didn't hit me that this thing would want more voltage just for the VFO. I'm saying I don't need a lot of voltage and power output for the output tubes because I'm not going to really transmit, except maybe a final experiment. And I said, well, at least the oscillator will come up, and it doesn't. And I put so many hours in this thing, cleaning it up. You see the other videos. Step by step, I've been going through this thing. And now I'm at the point, I always tell you, just before you finish a project, it can get really bad. All right? And then I can tell you why I built this thing. Exactly, psychologically. You know, when I was at the age of maybe becoming a radio amateur, I had no access to anything like this. And the money, I might have been able to scrape the money up. But then you need an expensive transformer. And you need to make a power supply. I could have done that. But it would have took a couple of years worth of shovel and snow money and birthday money. But or my parents maybe would have gave me some, you know, if they saw I was going in a positive direction with it. But you know, that's what a lot of things are that you do in your senior years. You look back on when you were a kid and the things you might have done, and you go back through all the hobbies that you went through, but this time with money, more knowledge, and that's where it's going at this point. But I just wanted to check in and tell you, you know, I'm still moving forward on this thing, and it's supposed to rain today, and I didn't get out to clean my gutters yet, and I'm hoping to, you know, I'm waiting for the sun to come up right now, and I'm going to get out there and clean the gutters because it's supposed to really rain for a full day on and off, so we'll see. But you know, and I have plenty of time to work on this, but I'm gonna clean up the mess, and that's when I do my thinking. So I start cleaning the mess up, and I start thinking, you know. But I had this pair of Exolite strippers, and I started sharpening them. I said, let me get a new pair, right? So in the interim, I went over to Harbor Freight, and I bought these exercise ones. See, these are for exercising your hand. Oh, what a nightmare! You can't take this spring off. See, in the old days, you had an option to take the spring off. So now I go on eBay and I look at all the pictures, and I find these, and these are Exolite, but these aren't the ones. The guy sold me this picture for $19, but he sent me the cheaper pair, you know. And these only strip 1/2 side of the wire. I don't know if you've ever had a dull pair of cutters, brand new. When you strip the wire, it only cuts one side. So these need to be sharpened. I didn't want to be cheap. See, I had to sharpen these. I said, you know what, it's time. Let me buy myself a pair. Well, this pair is junk from Harbor Freight. It was on sale because it's junk. And this one here was overpriced sold to me. And it's dull too. And if you look at it, you actually see big chunk marks. It's made in Taiwan, which usually Taiwan tools actually were better than China. But whoever ground these and them set up, they're just turning them out, and they're not doing them right. But I just wanted to do an update and warn you about the connector. It's not you, it's them. And if you do dig far enough, you'll find the mention that, yeah. And then down below, very well worded, after you see the correct connector, they say a typical receiver. And then look at the connections on the schematic. Don't match the rear connection. And this radio, or this transmitter, has this RF choke here, and they don't show that in any of the pictures. And when you're repairing something that's not working right, you start going crazy because you're not sure what your schematics are right. That's the most important thing when you're on a new piece of equipment, that the schematics match what you're working on. And you go digging and you find stuff and you're like, why did they do that? Well, this is the problem with this transmitter. If you read deep enough and find articles, you'll see that a lot of people blew these out because the rear connector is wrong. It's wired differently. So if you plug 250 volts in this, you basically fry this. So I don't know. I could have one of those. Okay, this could have been fried. So you know, I'm gonna build the power supply probably today. Add on. I have it built. I just have to put the terminal strip in there with some capacitors and a resistor, and we'll see how it goes if it starts oscillating. But you know, it's amazing when you get in a project and you're almost finished and you're like, why did I buy this thing? But I know why I bought it. I'm reliving my childhood, things I could have bought or didn't know about. And that's basically what a lot of people do with the old cars. They wanted that car when they were younger and driving, or they had one and got rid of it, and they were sorry they got rid of it. And that's what you're doing. And I know I'm doing it, but and also, this is a keep busy project. When you're retired, you have to do something. And my main thing is going for walks. I go for a walk and I stop and talk to people, and doing YouTube videos, reading on the internet. I do stay busy, but there's like 2 hours every day at the end where you just sit there and stare. And I've been talking to seniors, and they say, yeah, you're tired at the end of the day, and you're just sitting there waiting for bedtime. It's really annoying being retired. And when you're working, you're so tired at the end of the day, it's basically the same thing. So you're not going to see any difference when it comes to the end of the day. You know, and when you're younger, television really works for you. You know, you watch television, and it's okay. But then as you get older, you turn it on, you go, this is really stupid. So there's 2 hours you could kill watching television. When you age, you look at television as being stupid. And the commercials at night are set to sell you Medicare insurance supplements. And there's nothing worse than being old and having every commercial remind you how old you are. Okay? I think that's it. All right, that's it.